Before Rome's last echoes fade from Gaul, a new power rises, not in marble and law, but in blood and iron. Soissons, 486 AD. Mist clings to the low fields of northern Gaul, drifting over ruins that still call themselves Roman. Forts still fly imperial standards. Administrators still collect taxes in the emperor's name. But Rome is already a ghost, and today it will be judged. At the edge of the field stands a warlord barely out of his teens, Clovis, king of the Salian Franks. Red-haired, ruthless, illiterate, but battle-hardened. He is not Roman. He is not Christian. And he is not here to preserve the old world. He is here to erase it. With a roar, Frankish warbands surge forward. Axes rise and fall. Shields crash like thunder on stone. This is not a disciplined Roman advance. It is controlled violence, forged in forests and raids, now unleashed against an empire too tired to resist. Across the field stands Syagrius, the so-called King of the Romans, commander of the last Roman army in Gaul. He does not defend an empire anymore, only its memory. His soldiers still fight in Roman formations, still cling to Roman titles, still believe the West can be held together. They are wrong. The clash is brief, brutal, decisive. The Roman line breaks. Syagrius flees. His authority collapses. And with it dies the final illusion that the Western Roman Empire still lives in Gaul. This is the Battle of Soissons. Not just a victory, but a sentence passed on Rome itself. From this moment forward, Clovis does not stop. Over the next 25 years, he wages relentless war. He annihilates the last Roman enclaves. He murders rival Frankish kings, often by deception, often by his own hand. He crushes the Alemanni. He humbles the Visigoths. He forges unity through bloodshed and fear. By 511, Clovis rules a kingdom that stretches across most of Gaul, a realm built on Roman roads, Germanic steel, and raw ambition. This is not a story of decline. It is a story of replacement, of how Rome did not so much fall as get overrun, absorbed, and transformed. This is the birth of medieval Europe. Strap in. We are breaking down Clovis's rise, his wars of annihilation and unification, and the violent creation of Francia itself from the wreckage of antiquity. Raise your shield. Rome's long twilight is ending. The age of the Franks has begun. Part 1. Setup, Fractured Gaul, and the Rise of the Franks. By the late 5th century, Roman Gaul no longer exists as a province, only as a memory people are afraid to let die. The Western Roman Empire has collapsed. In 476, the last emperor in the West is removed, not in a grand battle, but quietly, reduced to a name in a forgotten decree. Rome's authority evaporates almost overnight. What remains in Gaul is not order. It is fragmentation. Roman roads still cut across the land. Roman cities still stand. Latin is still spoken in courts and churches. But power no longer flows from Rome. It lies scattered, broken among successor kingdoms, each ruling from the empire's ruins. To the south, the Visigoths reign from Toulouse. They preserve Roman administration, collect taxes, and govern cities, but they rule as conquerors, not emperors. To the east, the Burgundians carve out a kingdom along the Rhone, balancing Roman tradition with Germanic rule. Beyond the Rhine, the Alemanni press westward, probing for land, wealth, and weakness. And in the north, along the lower Rhine and the Scheldt, the Franks wait. They are not yet a nation. They are not yet a kingdom. They are tribes. The Franks are divided, primarily between Salian and Ripuarian groups, pagan warrior societies bound by blood, loyalty, and violence. Their kings rule small territories. Alliances shift. Rivalries fester. They fight outsiders and each other with equal ferocity. Roman culture still lingers among them. Roman authority does not. Into this fractured world steps Clovis. Born around 466, Clovis is the son of Childeric I, a Frankish king who walked a dangerous line, serving Rome when it suited him and defying it when it did not. Childeric understood the old world. His son is born into the new one. When Childeric dies in 481, Clovis inherits the Salian throne at Tournai. He is barely 15 years old, but youth does not restrain him. From the beginning, Clovis understands something his rivals do not. Gaul no longer belongs to Rome, but it also does not yet belong to anyone else. The vacuum is total. Whoever moves fastest, whoever strikes hardest, whoever unites the fragments through fear or force will inherit the future. Clovis's targets are unmistakable. To the west lies Syagrius, the so-called King of the Romans, ruler of the last Roman enclave in Gaul, governing from Soissons as if the empire still breathes. To the east, the Alemanni threaten Frankish lands, raiders pressing ever closer. To the south, the Visigoths dominate Aquitaine, wealthy, organized, and powerful, ruling over Roman cities and Roman wealth. Clovis does not seek balance. He does not seek coexistence. He does not seek peace. He seeks domination. The age of petty kings, fractured rule, and Roman aftershocks is ending. The age of conquest is about to begin, and the first blow will fall on the last Romans of Gaul. Part 2. Conquest of Syagrius, crushing the last Roman in Gaul, 486 AD. In 486, Clovis makes his first great move, and it is aimed not at a rival king, but at Rome's corpse. West of Frankish lands lies the domain of Soissons, ruled by Syagrius, the last Roman commander in Gaul. The empire that once sustained him is gone, yet Syagrius governs as if nothing has changed. Roman-trained troops still man his defenses. Taxes are still collected. Imperial administration still functions. He even styles himself Rex Romanorum, King of the Romans. To Clovis, this is intolerable. The Franks do not send envoys. They do not debate legitimacy. They march. The armies meet near Soissons. On one side stands Roman discipline without imperial backing, soldiers trained for an empire that no longer exists. On the other, Frankish warbands, fast, violent, and unified under a young king who understands a critical truth. Victory now means legitimacy forever. The clash is brief. brutal, decisive. Frankish axes crash into Roman lines. Formations buckle. Cohesion fails. Whatever remains of Roman authority in the north collapses under the ferocity of the assault. Syagrius flees south, seeking refuge with the Visigoths. They betray him. Bound and delivered to Clovis, the last Roman ruler of northern Gaul is quietly executed. No trial, no ceremony, no treaty. Roman political authority in Gaul ends not with parchment, but with an axe. The consequences are enormous. Clovis does not sack Soissons and move on. He absorbs it. Soissons, Paris, Rouen, Reims. Cities still rich with Roman roads, Roman administration, Roman sun. Populations now fall under Frankish control. For the first time, a barbarian king rules not just tribes, but Roman cities intact. This gives Clovis something none of his rivals possess: legitimacy. Gallo-Roman elites submit. Roman officials enter Frankish service. Roman law survives beneath Frankish kingship. Clovis does not destroy Rome's remnants. He inherits them. This is the birth of Merovingian power. The Franks begin to change. Raiders become rulers. Warbands become an army. Kingship becomes statehood. But conquest never ends in peace. With the West secured, Clovis turns east, toward the Alemanni, whose pressure along the Rhine threatens everything he has gained. The borders ignite, the warbands march again, and the next conflict will decide not just territory, but the soul of Clovis himself. Part 3. Wars with the Alemanni, Conversion and Eastern Expansion, 496 to 506 AD. With northern Gaul secured, Clovis turns east, toward the most immediate threat to his growing power. Across the Rhine, the Alemanni raid relentlessly. They are fierce, fragmented, and pagan like the Franks, but numerous, aggressive, and perfectly positioned to bleed Clovis's new kingdom. They threaten trade routes, frontier settlements, and Frankish prestige itself. Conflict is inevitable. In 496, the two forces collide near Tolbiac. The battle is savage, and for once, uncertain. Frankish warbands crash into Alemannic lines. Shields splinter. Axes rise and fall. Casualties mount on both sides. Then something rare happens. The Frankish advance stalls. For the first time since his rise, Clovis faces the real possibility of defeat. His men falter. The enemy presses. The outcome hangs in the balance. And in that moment, with his kingship at risk, Clovis makes a decision that will reshape Europe. According to Gregory of Tours, Clovis calls out not to Wodan or Donar, but to the Christian god, the god of his Burgundian wife, Clotilde. He makes a vow. If granted victory, he will abandon the old gods. If saved from defeat, he will accept baptism. The tide turns. The Alemanni break. Their king is slain. Panic spreads through their ranks. Survivors throw down their weapons or flee back across the Rhine. The Frankish pursuit is merciless. Clovis annexes Alemannic territory, pushing Frankish power deep into the east and securing the Rhine frontier. A dangerous enemy is shattered. But the battlefield victory is only the beginning. Later that same year, on Christmas Day, 496, Clovis is baptized at Reims by Bishop Remigius. But this is not a routine conversion. Clovis does not adopt Arian Christianity, the creed followed by most Germanic kings. He chooses Nicene Catholicism, the faith of Rome's bishops, Roman cities, and the Gallo-Roman elite. This choice is revolutionary. With a single act, Clovis aligns himself with the Roman Church, the most powerful institution left standing in the post-imperial West. Bishops become allies. Urban populations become loyal. Roman elites see not a barbarian occupier, but a legitimate ruler. Tradition claims 3,000 Frankish warriors are baptized alongside him. The conqueror becomes a Christian king. The warlord becomes a ruler, sanctioned by God. Over the next decade, Clovis completes the Eastern campaign. By 506, the Alemanni are decisively crushed, their lands fully absorbed into the Frankish realm. The Rhine frontier is secure. Frankish dominance is unquestioned. Clovis now stands stronger than any king in Gaul. Only one rival remains. To the south lies the richest prize of all, Visigothic Aquitaine. And Clovis is ready to claim it. Part 4. Conquest of the Visigoths. Battle of Vouillé and Southern Gains. 507 AD. By 507, Clovis is ready for the decisive war. To the south lies Aquitaine, wealthy, urbanized, and deeply Roman in character. Its cities still hum with trade. Its aristocracy still thinks in Latin, and it is ruled by the Visigoths under King Alaric II. They control some of the richest cities in Gaul: Bordeaux, Toulouse, Poitiers. Like most Germanic rulers of the age, the Visigoths follow Arian Christianity, a doctrine rejected as heresy by the Catholic Church and deeply resented by their Roman subjects. Clovis sees more than land. He sees legitimacy. He frames the coming invasion not merely as conquest, but as liberation, casting himself as the Catholic champion striking down a heretical regime. Bishops support him. Gallo-Roman elites quietly open gates. The ideological groundwork is already laid long before the first sword is drawn. The armies meet near Vouillé, just west of Poitiers. The battle is brutal and fast. Clovis does not rely on missile exchanges or cautious maneuver. Frankish infantry closes aggressively, forcing hand-to-hand combat where numbers, cohesion, and ferocity decide the day. According to later tradition, Clovis personally cuts down Alaric II in the fighting. Whether literal or symbolic, the effect is immediate and devastating. The Visigothic command collapses. Their line buckles. Then it breaks. The Visigothic army routs south in chaos. The consequences are catastrophic for Visigothic power in Gaul. Clovis seizes Aquitaine almost intact. Bordeaux falls. Angoulême follows. Frankish banners sweep across southwestern Gaul. Only intervention by Theodoric the Great, king of the Ostrogoths in Italy, prevents total annihilation. Ostrogothic forces move in, securing Provence and holding Toulouse as a Visigothic refuge. Even so, the damage is irreversible. Visigothic rule north of the Pyrenees is finished. Their kingdom retreats permanently into Spain. Gaul now belongs to the Franks. Clovis does not stop there. With external rivals crushed, he turns inward, methodically eliminating rival Frankish kings through warfare, deception, and assassination. One by one, petty kingdoms fall. Loyalty is enforced. Authority is centralized. For the first time since Rome, nearly all of Gaul is united under a single ruler. A new realm takes shape. It is called Francia. But Clovis's work is not finished, because no conquest lasts forever. The king who forged the Frankish world is nearing the end of his life, and what follows will determine whether his creation can survive him. Part 5. Aftermath and Legacy. Division of the Kingdom and Birth of France. In 511, Clovis dies in Paris, 45 years old. He is buried in the Church of the Holy Apostles, later known as Sainte Geneviève, fixing Paris not just as a royal residence, but as the symbolic heart of Frankish power. The warrior who carved a kingdom from the ruins of Rome passes into legend. But the kingdom he forged does not remain whole. By Frankish custom, Francia is divided among Clovis's 4 sons, Theodoric, Clodomir, Childebert, and Clothar. What Clovis united by force fractures by inheritance. Almost immediately, rivalry replaces unity. Brothers turn on brothers. Alliances shift. Assassination, betrayal, and civil war become features, not failures, of Merovingian rule. Yet, even divided, the Frankish kingdoms remain dominant. Clovis's heirs push outward, conquering Burgundy, Thuringia, and Provence, expanding Frankish power across much of Western Europe. The structure holds because Clovis's greatest legacy is not territorial. It is ideological. By converting to Catholic Christianity, Clovis permanently binds Frankish kingship to the Roman Church. This alliance grants his successors legitimacy no other Germanic dynasty can match. Bishops become royal allies. Kings become defenders of the faith. And Francia emerges as what later generations will call the eldest daughter of the Church. The consequences echo for centuries. Reims, the site of Clovis's baptism, becomes the coronation city of French kings from the early Middle Ages all the way to 1825. Royal authority is no longer rooted solely in blood and conquest, but in divine sanction. The Merovingian dynasty rules until 751, gradually weakening as real power shifts to palace officials, the ancestors of the Carolingians. From Clovis's political framework will rise Charles Martel, and ultimately Charlemagne, whose empire will reshape Europe yet again. But none of it begins without Clovis. He is the bridge between worlds, between Roman Gaul and medieval France, between pagan warbands and Christian monarchy, between imperial collapse and a new European order. The wars of Clovis do not merely conquer land, they create a nation. Francia is born, not from Rome's survival, but from its transformation. Conclusion: from warband to kingdom, from ashes to France. When the dust finally settles, the fields of Gaul are unrecognizable. Where Roman banners once clung to fading authority, Frankish standards now rise. Where fractured tribes fought merely to survive, a kingdom now stands. And at the center of that transformation looms Clovis, not just a conqueror, but a turning point in history itself. He begins as a teenage warlord, armed with an axe and ambition. He ends as the architect of a new Europe. Through blood-soaked victories at Soissons, Tolbiac, and Vouillé, Clovis accomplishes what Rome could not in its final century. He unites Gaul under a single rule. But steel alone does not secure his legacy. With his baptism at Reims, Clovis forges something far more enduring, a fusion of royal power and Christian legitimacy. Throne and altar become one, and that alliance will dominate Europe for 1,000 years. Kings will rise and fall by that formula. His death fractures the realm, but not the idea he created. The Merovingians inherit his sword. The Carolingians inherit his crown. And France inherits his name, his faith, and his destiny. From Clovis's wars will flow the reign of Charlemagne, the coronations at Reims, the identity of France as a Christian kingdom, and the political foundations of Western Europe itself. Empires collapse, dynasties fade, but the structure he built endures. This is the true legacy of Clovis, not the end of Rome, not the triumph of barbarism, but the birth of something new. From the ashes of empire rises a kingdom. From tribal war emerges a nation. From a Frankish chieftain is born France. The hammer falls. History turns. And Europe is never the same again.